The Kalrathi Empire had controlled their part of the galaxy for 3,000 years. Their warships were fast and deadly. Their soldiers had conquered hundreds of worlds. When they found humanity's small colonies scattered across a few star systems, they saw nothing special, just another weak species that would bow down and obey. The meeting took place on a space station called Meridian Point. It floated in neutral territory between human and Kalrathi space. Ambassador Vrethkal led the alien delegation. He was tall, covered in dark armor plates that grew naturally from his skin. 4 eyes studied the humans with cold interest. His species had done this many times before. Meet a new race, show them how powerful the Kalrathi were, and watch them surrender. The human delegation was led by a woman named Patricia Hayes. She had spent 20 years learning how to deal with other governments. She smiled warmly at the aliens, showing no fear. Behind her stood 5 other humans, all wearing dark blue uniforms with Earth symbol on their shoulders. "We are honored to meet you," Patricia said. Her words were changed into Kalrathi language by a small computer. "Humanity has waited a long time for this moment. We want to learn from you." Vrethkal's mouth parts clicked together. The sound meant approval in his culture. These humans seemed to understand their place. They were weak and they knew it. "Good. This would be easy. The Empire welcomes you," Vrethkal said. His voice was deep and rough. "You will follow our rules. You will pay tribute to us each year. You will accept that we are your superiors in all things. Do this and we will let you live in peace." Patricia looked at her team. They talked quietly for a moment. Then she turned back to the alien ambassador. "We need time to discuss these terms with our government," she said. "This is a big decision for humanity." "You have 1 week," Vrethkal replied. "Then you will accept or face the consequences." The negotiations went on for 3 months. Every week the humans came back with questions. Every week they gave up a little more. They agreed to pay tribute. They agreed to limit their military. They agreed to recognize Kalrathi control over disputed star systems. To anyone watching, it looked like complete surrender. But Patricia knew what she was doing. Every day the talks continued was one more day for Earth to prepare. One more day for the secret to stay hidden. One more day for the mission to be completed. Back on Earth, President Martin Cole sat in a deep underground bunker. The room was filled with screens showing news from across human space. He read Patricia's latest report carefully. Between the official words were hidden codes that told the real story. The Kalrathi thought they had won. They believed humanity would become their servants. They had no idea what was really happening. Martin pressed a button on his desk. "Get me Admiral Grant. Tell him the diplomatic phase is finished. It's time to move forward with the plan." Far from Earth, in orbit around Saturn's moon Titan, something massive floated in space. It was hidden behind the rings, away from any sensors that might be watching. The USS Defiant was the largest ship humanity had ever built. It was also the most deadly. For 15 years, every scientist, every engineer, every resource that could be spared had gone into building this one vessel. It was humanity's answer to a hostile galaxy. It was their insurance policy. It was their way of saying that humans would never be slaves to anyone. Captain Jacob Miller stood on the bridge of the Defiant, looking out at the stars. He was 42 years old, with gray starting to show in his dark hair. He had been in space for 20 years, starting as a young pilot and working his way up through the ranks. For the last 3 years, he had been getting the Defiant ready for this moment. "Final systems check is complete, Captain," said Commander Lisa Barrett. She was his second in command, a woman with red hair tied back tight and sharp green eyes. "All weapons are ready. Engines are at full power. The crew is prepared," Jacob nodded slowly. He had 150 people under his command. Every one of them knew what they were about to do. Every one of them had volunteered. They understood the risk. They understood that they might not come back. "How long until we reach Meridian Point?" Jacob asked. "At maximum speed, 72 hours, said the navigation officer. His name was Kevin Harris, young but skilled. "Sir, the diplomatic team is still there. If we show up now, the Kalrathi might see it as an act of war." Jacob smiled, but there was no humor in it. "The negotiations are over, Lieutenant. Ambassador Hayes has done her job. She bought us time. Now it's our turn to finish what she started." He walked to the center of the bridge. Every officer turned to look at him. These were good people, smart, brave, and loyal. They deserved to know the truth about what they were about to face. "You all know our mission," Jacob said. The Kalrathi Empire wants humanity to submit. They want us to bow down and accept that they are better than us. They've given us terms that would make us their slaves in everything but name. He paused, looking each person in the eye. We're going to show them something different. We're going to show them that humanity doesn't bow down, that we don't surrender, that we will fight for our freedom no matter what the odds are. Sir, they have hundreds of ships at Meridian Point, said Sarah Brooks, the weapons officer. She was older than most of the crew, with gray hair and steady hands. Even with all our advantages, we're still just one ship. One ship, Jacob agreed. One human ship. That's all we need. The Kalrathi have ruled through fear for 3,000 years. They think that numbers and power are all that matter. We're going to teach them that they're wrong. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten humanity. He turned to the helm officer. Set course for Meridian Point, maximum speed. No more hiding. No more waiting. It's time for first contact to become something very different. The Defiant's engines flared to life. The massive ship moved away from Saturn, picking up speed as it headed toward deep space. Inside, the crew went to their stations. Weapons were armed. Shields were powered up. Every system was checked and double-checked. In the crew quarters, men and women wrote letters to their families. Some prayed. Some simply sat quietly, thinking about what was coming. They all knew that this mission would change everything. Either humanity would take its place among the stars as a free people, or they would die trying. Jacob sat in his command chair, watching the stars stream past on the main screen. He thought about his own family back on Earth. His parents, his sister, his nephew who was only 5 years old. He wanted them to grow up in a universe where humans were respected, not enslaved. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth, Lisa said. It's from President Cole. Jacob pressed a button. The president's face appeared on a small screen. Captain Miller, the entire planet is watching, Martin said. His voice was heavy with emotion. Patricia just sent word. The Kalrathi have given their final terms. They expect our complete surrender within 24 hours. It's all up to you now. Understood, Mr. President, Jacob replied. Tell Ambassador Hayes to get herself and the team off that station. Things are about to get interesting. Good luck, Captain, and thank you. Whatever happens out there, history will remember what you tried to do. The screen went dark. Jacob sat back in his chair. 72 hours until they reached Meridian Point. 72 hours until the Kalrathi learned that humanity was not like the other species they had conquered. He smiled to himself. Let them gather their fleets. Let them prepare their weapons. Let them think they were ready for what was coming. They had no idea what one human warship could do. The warning came to the Kalrathi Military Command Center on their homeworld. A single human ship was approaching Meridian Point at impossible speeds. The sensors showed it was much larger than any human vessel they had seen before. The power readings were strange and very high. Battle Commander Zrethnor stood in the command center looking at the screens. Around him, 3 of his officers watched the data come in. They were all covered in battle armor, veterans of many wars. Zrethnor himself had conquered 12 worlds for the Empire. One ship, Zrethnor said, and his voice showed amusement. The humans send one ship. Perhaps they bring more gifts to beg for mercy. His tactical officer, a younger warrior named Vrisatal, studied the numbers more carefully. Commander, something is wrong. The vessel is too large. The power output is much higher than their other ships. I think we should be careful. Careful? Zrethnor turned to look at him. Careful of what, one ship? We have thousands of vessels. We could destroy every human colony with a fraction of our fleet. But Vristal was right to be concerned. The Defiant was not like other human ships. It was something new, something the Kalrathi had never seen before, and it was headed straight toward them. Assemble the honor fleet, Zrethnor ordered. 300 ships. We will escort this human vessel to the station. If they show any disrespect, we will destroy them and then visit their colonies. They need to learn their place. Within hours, 300 Kalrathi warships gathered around Meridian Point. They formed up in perfect patterns, a show of strength meant to terrify any enemy. The combined firepower could turn a planet to dust. The humans would see this fleet and understand how powerless they were. On the Defiance Bridge, Jacob watched the enemy ships take their positions. He stood with his hands behind his back, his face calm. Around him, his crew worked at their stations, calling out information in steady voices. 317 ships confirmed. Kevin Harris said from the navigation station. They're forming a standard pattern. They want to intimidate us, sir. Weapons status, Jacob said. Sarah Brooks checked her screens. All systems are ready, Captain. The Nova cannons are charged. Point defense grids are online. Hull armor is at maximum strength. We're ready for anything, Jacob nodded. He had studied the Calrathi for years. He knew how they thought, how they fought, how they made decisions. They were aggressive and confident. They believed they were the strongest power in the galaxy. That confidence would be their weakness. Open a channel to the Calrathi fleet, Jacob ordered. The main screen showed Zrethnor's face. The alien commander looked at Jacob with 4 eyes that showed contempt. Human vessel, you approach Calrathi space without proper respect. Power down your weapons and prepare to be escorted to the station. You will wait there until we decide what to do with you. I am Captain Jacob Miller of the United Earth Space Navy warship Defiant, Jacob said. His voice was calm and clear. I'm here to discuss new terms for our agreement. Zrethnor's mouth part spread in what was clearly amusement. There are no new terms, human. Your people have already agreed to our demands. You will obey or suffer the consequences. No, Jacob said simply. We won't. The word hung in the air. For 3,000 years, no one had simply said no to the Calrathi Empire. Other species begged, pleaded, offered compromises, but they always gave in eventually. No one had ever looked at the Calrathi and refused them with such complete certainty. Zrethnor's amusement vanished. Then you choose death. Your single ship will be destroyed. Then we will visit your colonies and burn them as a lesson to others who might think of defying us. You can try, Jacob replied, but I suggest you think carefully first. You have 300 ships. I have the Defiant. I think you'll find we're evenly matched, the Calrathi commander roared with rage. The sound was loud and terrible. Then he cut the communication. Immediately, alarms began sounding throughout the Calrathi fleet. Weapons powered up. Targeting systems locked onto the human ship. Lisa Barrett moved closer to Jacob. Her voice was quiet. Sir, we still have time to retreat. We could jump back to human space and regroup. No, Commander, Jacob said. This is where we make our stand. Humanity needs this. We need the Calrathi to understand who we are and what we can do. No more running. No more surrendering. Starting today, we show the galaxy that humans stand and fight. He raised his voice so the whole bridge crew could hear. All hands battle stations. Prepare to engage the enemy fleet. Let's show them what one human warship can do when pushed too far. The bridge lights changed to red. Klaxons sounded throughout the ship. Every crew member moved to their combat positions. They had trained for this moment for years. Now it was time to put that training to use. Down in engineering, the chief engineer, a man named Craig Stevens, watched his screens carefully. The Defiant's reactor was running at full power. The engines were ready to push the ship to speeds the Calrathi couldn't match. The weapon systems drew enormous amounts of energy, but the reactor could handle it. All stations report ready, Craig said into his communicator. Engineering is green across the board. In the weapons bay, teams of specialists prepared the Nova cannons. These weapons were humanity's greatest achievement in destructive technology. They didn't just damage enemy ships, they unmade them, breaking down the very atoms that held matter together. A single shot could erase a Calrathi cruiser from existence. Weapons ready, Sarah Brooks reported. We have firing solutions on all enemy vessels. Waiting for your order, Captain. Jacob looked at the tactical display. 317 ships surrounded them. In any normal battle, those odds would be impossible. But the Defiant was not a normal ship, and Jacob had no intention of fighting a normal battle. Here they come, Kevin said. The Calrathi fleet opened fire. Energy beams capable of melting through steel shot across space from dozens of ships at once. Missiles launched, streaking toward the Defiant with deadly purpose. The amount of firepower was staggering, enough to destroy a small city in seconds. The beams hit the Defiant's hull and did nothing. The armor plating was made of materials that didn't exist in nature. Human scientists had spent years developing it, layer after layer of exotic matter that could absorb and disperse energy. The Calrathi weapons, so effective against other species, barely scratched it. On the Calrathi flagship, Zrethnor stared at his screens in disbelief. Impossible. Our weapons should have penetrated their armor. How is their ship still intact? Commander, their armor is adapting to our weapons, Vristal said. It's spreading the energy across the entire hull. We're not doing any damage. Then fire everything, Srethnor roared. All ships, maximum firepower. Destroy that vessel. But Jacob wasn't waiting for them to figure out a solution. Weapons, open fire. Pattern Alpha. Show them what we can do. The Defiant's Nova cannons fired. White beams of pure destructive energy lanced out, moving at the speed of light. They struck the Kalrathi ships and passed straight through them. Where the beams touched, matter simply ceased to exist. Ships didn't explode. They didn't break apart. They vanished, turned into clouds of free-floating atoms. 8 Kalrathi cruisers disappeared in the first 3 seconds. The human ship had fired 8 times, each shot perfectly accurate, each result the same. Total destruction, all ships converge. Srethnor screamed into the fleet channel. Surround them! Overwhelm their defenses. The Kalrathi armada collapsed inward, every ship focusing on the single human vessel. The volume of fire increased to levels that should have been impossible to survive. Hundreds of energy beams, thousands of missiles, all targeting one ship. Activate the Aegis system, Jacob ordered. Pattern Delta 7. Aegis active, Sarah confirmed. The space around the Defiant suddenly filled with thousands of tiny drones. Each one was smaller than a person's hand, but they moved with incredible speed and precision. They formed a cloud around the ship, intercepting missiles, deflecting energy beams, creating overlapping defensive fields. It was like trying to hit a target through a swarm of metal bees, and the Defiant kept moving, kept firing. Its weapons never stopped. Every few seconds, another Kalrathi ship vanished from existence. The human warship moved through their formation like a shark through a school of fish, deadly and unstoppable. Enemy cruiser at Mark 37, Kevin called out. Destroyer group at Mark 62. Dreadnought class powering up heavy weapons at Mark 90. Target the Dreadnought, Jacob said. 2 cannon salvo. The massive Kalrathi Dreadnought was the pride of their fleet. It had conquered worlds. It had survived battles against entire enemy fleets. It lasted exactly 2 seconds against the Defiant. The Nova cannons fired twice and the Dreadnought simply stopped existing. Its reactor exploded as it died, taking 3 nearby cruisers with it in a ball of nuclear fire. Srethnor watched his fleet die around him. Ships were vanishing from the tactical display faster than he could count them. In less than 10 minutes, they had lost over 60 vessels. The human ship showed no signs of damage. Sir, we must retreat, Bristel said urgently. At this rate, they'll destroy the entire fleet. Retreat? Srethnor looked at his tactical officer with fury. We are Kalrathi. We do not retreat from a single enemy ship. Then we die here, Commander, Bristel replied. Is that what you want? The Kalrathi fleet ran. Ships that had never retreated before, that had terrorized entire star systems, fled from a single human warship. Their formation fell apart as captains made their own decisions about which direction to escape. Some tried to reach their jump points to escape to faster-than-light speeds. Others just ran at maximum speed, hoping to get away. Jacob stood on the bridge of the Defiant, watching them scatter. His face showed no emotion, but inside he felt grim satisfaction. This was the message humanity needed to send. Not that humans were cruel or bloodthirsty, but that they would not be pushed around, that they would fight back. Pursuit course, Jacob ordered. Weapons, continue firing. I want them to remember this day for the rest of their lives. The Defiant chased the fleeing Kalrathi ships. Its weapons fired again and again, each shot ending another enemy vessel. The battle was no longer a fight. It was a lesson, a demonstration, a message written in fire and destruction. Lisa Barrett watched the tactical display with a troubled expression. Captain, we've destroyed over 100 ships. Their fleet is broken. We've made our point. Not yet, Commander, Jacob replied. They need to understand this completely. One human ship did this to them. One ship destroyed their honor fleet. That message needs to be so clear that no one in the galaxy can miss it. Sarah Brooks called out coordinates. Enemy battlecruiser trying to reach jump distance. Destroyer cluster attempting to regroup at Mark 47. Break up that cluster, Jacob said. Make sure they can't reform. The Defiant's weapons lashed out. 3 destroyers vanished. The rest scattered, abandoning any attempt to fight back. They just wanted to survive, to escape, to get away from this terrible human ship that killed without mercy. On the Kalrathi flagship, Srethnor slumped in his command chair. Around him, his bridge crew worked frantically to keep them alive. They had lost contact with dozens of ships. The fleet that had numbered 317 vessels now counted fewer than 150. "We're approaching jump distance," the navigation officer reported. "Another 30 seconds. All remaining ships prepare to jump," Zrethnor ordered. His voice was hollow, empty. "Scatter to different rally points. We need to survive to warn the homeworld." Vristol looked at his commander. "Sir, they're still pursuing. They're not letting anyone escape easily." "I know," Zrethnor said quietly. "They want us to run. They want us to carry this story back home. They want everyone to know what happened here." The flagship jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving the battle behind. Around Meridian Point, the surviving Kalrathi ships followed, fleeing in all directions. They left behind wreckage, debris fields, and the expanding clouds of gas that had once been proud warships. The Defiant stopped pursuing once the last enemy vessel jumped away. Jacob looked at the destruction surrounding his ship. 174 Kalrathi vessels destroyed, thousands of enemy soldiers dead, all done by one human ship in less than 3 hours. "Damage report," Jacob said. "Minor damage to 3 external sensor arrays," Sarah reported. "Everything else is green. We can repair the sensors in less than an hour." "Casualties?" "None, sir. Not even injuries." Jacob nodded slowly. The crew had performed perfectly. Every system had worked as designed. The Defiant had proven itself in battle. But he took no joy in the victory. War was never something to celebrate, even when it was necessary. "Send a message to Earth," Jacob said. "Tell them the engagement is complete. The Kalrathi fleet has been defeated. We're proceeding to the next phase of the mission." Kevin worked at his station for a moment. "Message sent, sir. We should receive a reply in about 10 minutes. Jacob sat in his command chair. Around him, the bridge crew began standing down from full combat readiness. The tension that had filled the room during the battle slowly eased. People took deep breaths, drank water, checked on each other. Lisa approached Jacob. "Sir, what is the next phase?" "We've proven our point. We could return home now." "We could," Jacob agreed. "But that would leave the Kalrathi wondering if this was a fluke. If maybe they just got unlucky. If perhaps next time would be different." "No, Commander. We need to finish this properly." "You're going to their homeworld," Lisa said. It wasn't a question. We are. The entire Defiant crew is going to take a trip to the heart of the Kalrathi Empire. We're going to sit in orbit around their planet and have a conversation about respect and equality." Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Sir, they'll send everything they have. Every ship in their empire will converge on us." "I'm counting on it," Jacob said. "If we're going to change how the galaxy works, we need to do it all at once. Half measures won't work here. The Kalrathi and every other species need to see that humanity is not to be threatened, not to be bullied, and definitely not to be conquered." The reply from Earth came through. President Martin Cole's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired, but his eyes were bright with emotion. "Captain Miller, I've been watching the tactical feed. The entire government, the entire planet has been watching. What you did out there, it's incredible. You've given humanity hope." "We did what we had to do, Mr. President," Jacob replied. "But the job isn't finished. I'm requesting permission to proceed to the Kalrathi homeworld. We need to end this decisively." Martin was quiet for several seconds. "You understand that if something goes wrong, if they find a way to destroy the Defiant, we have no way to help you. You'll be alone in the heart of enemy territory." "I understand, sir. But this is the only way. We show them now, show them clearly, or we fight this war for generations. I'd rather risk one ship and 150 people than risk millions of lives later." Martin nodded. "You have my authorization, Captain. Do what you need to do." "And Jacob? Come home safe. The galaxy needs people like you." The screen went dark. Jacob stood and addressed his crew. "You all heard that? We're going deep into Kalrathi space. To their homeworld. They'll throw everything they have at us. This will make the last battle look easy. Anyone who wants to opt out can do so now. No shame, no judgment. You'll be transferred to a support ship and sent home." He waited. Not a single person moved. Not one crew member stepped forward. Sarah Brooks spoke up. "Sir, with respect, we're not going anywhere. We started this mission together. We'll finish it together." Around the bridge, heads nodded. Jacob felt pride swell in his chest. These were good people. The best humanity had to offer. "Then let's finish it," Jacob said. "Navigation, set course for the Kalrathi homeworld. Maximum speed. Let's go introduce ourselves properly." The Defiant's engines flared bright. The ship accelerated, leaving the debris field behind. It headed toward the center of the Kalrathi Empire, toward the heart of enemy territory, toward a confrontation that would decide humanity's future. Behind them, at Meridian Point Station, Patricia Hayes and her diplomatic team prepared to evacuate. They had watched the battle from the station's observation deck. They had seen the Defiant destroy the Kalrathi fleet with ease. "We did it," one of the other diplomats said. "We actually pulled it off." Patricia smiled, but her eyes were worried. "We won the battle, but Captain Miller is heading into the heart of the Empire. The real test is still ahead." On the Kalrathi homeworld, the surviving ships from the battle began arriving. They brought news of the disaster. Battle Commander Zrethnor reported to Supreme Commander Vrathkon in person, standing before the War Council to explain how they had lost nearly 200 ships to a single enemy vessel. The War Council chamber was silent as Zrethnor finished his report. The highest-ranking military officers of the Empire sat in their seats trying to process what they had heard. It seemed impossible. It seemed like a lie. But the sensor records didn't lie. The tactical data was clear. "One ship," Vrathkon said slowly. "You lost 174 vessels to one human ship." "Yes, Supreme Commander," Zrethnor replied. His voice was steady, but shame colored his words. "Their technology is far beyond our estimates. Their weapons, their defenses, their tactics, everything about them is more advanced than we believed possible." "Where is this ship now?" Vrathkon demanded. "Heading toward our homeworld, Supreme Commander. Long-range sensors confirm it. The human vessel is coming here. It has already destroyed 3 border stations without slowing down. At current speed, it will arrive in approximately 47 hours. The chamber erupted. Officers shouted, roared, demanded action. The idea that an enemy vessel could simply fly to their homeworld was unthinkable. In 3,000 years, no enemy had ever threatened their capital system. Vrathkon raised one armored claw. Silence fell immediately. "How many ships do we have available?" "We can assemble 5,000 vessels within 40 hours, the fleet coordinator reported. "Every ship within 10 jumps of the homeworld. Every reserve unit, every training squadron. It will strip our borders bare, but we can do it." "Then do it," Vrathkon ordered. "Assemble every ship we have. We will meet this human at the edge of our system with overwhelming force. Whatever technology they possess, it cannot stand against 5,000 warships. We will destroy them, and then we will visit every human colony. We will teach them what it means to defy the Kalrathi Empire." The Kalrathi home system was the jewel of their empire. 5 planets orbited a bright yellow star. The second planet was their homeworld, covered in cities that had stood for thousands of years. Orbiting stations the size of moons processed resources from the outer planets. Defensive satellites filled the space between worlds, forming a network that could destroy entire fleets. At the edge of this system, the Kalrathi assembled their response. 5,000 warships gathered in formation, creating a wall of metal and weapons that stretched across millions of kilometers. Every ship in the Empire that could reach the homeworld in time had come. Battleships, carriers, destroyers, cruisers. The combined firepower could destroy 100 worlds. Supreme Commander Vrathkon stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Pride of Empire. It was the largest warship in the Kalrathi fleet, heavily armored and carrying enough weapons to fight a small war by itself. Around him, his command staff monitored the incoming human vessel. "Status report," Vrathkon ordered. "The human ship will reach weapons range in 12 minutes, the tactical officer reported. "Long-range sensors confirm it is the same vessel that destroyed the Honor fleet. Size estimates match. Energy signatures match. It is alone. 1 ship against 5,000, Vrathkon said quietly. They are either incredibly brave or incredibly foolish. Prepare to fire on my command. All ships will target the human vessel simultaneously. We will not repeat Zrethnor's mistakes. Overwhelming force all at once." On the Defiant, the crew watched the massive Kalrathi fleet take position. The tactical display showed so many enemy ships that they appeared as a solid mass. Kevin Harris kept updating the count as more vessels arrived. 5,217 confirmed, Kevin said. "Sir, they've pulled ships from every sector. This is everything they have in range." Lisa Barrett studied the tactical projections. Her face was tight with concern. "Captain, even with all our advantages, those numbers are extreme. If they all fire at once, if they coordinate properly, they might be able to overwhelm our defenses." Jacob had been standing at the front of the bridge, looking at the enemy fleet. Now he turned to face his crew. "They might. This is the moment we've been building toward. Everything we've done, everything we've prepared for comes down to the next hour. We can turn back now. We can jump away and no one would blame us. We've already proven humanity can fight. He paused, looking at each person on the bridge. But if we leave now, this becomes just another battle. A victory, but not a permanent solution. The Kalrathi will rebuild. They'll study our tactics. They'll adapt. And eventually, they'll come for us again with new strategies. Other species will see that we can be pushed back. The galaxy will return to the way it was, with the strong ruling the weak. So we stay, Sarah Brooks said. We make our stand here. We do, Jacob agreed. But we do it smart. Commander Brooks, what's the status of the Hammer Protocol? Sarah pulled up a secure tactical display. Ready to deploy, Captain. All units are armed and prepared. Launch systems are green. But sir, once we use it, there's no going back. The hammer is a one-time weapon. Everything we've done today is one-time, Jacob replied. One chance to change the galaxy. Let's make it count. Stand by to deploy on my command. He turned to the communications officer. Open a channel to the Kalrathi fleet. Let's see if we can solve this without more deaths. Prathkon's face appeared on the screen. The Supreme Commander's 4 eyes burned with anger. Behind him, the bridge of his flagship was filled with officers watching intently. Human, Prathkon said. You have invaded Kalrathi space. You have destroyed our ships. You have shown us disrespect beyond measure. Surrender immediately. Power down your weapons. If you do this, your death will be quick. Refuse, and we will make sure you suffer before the end. Supreme Commander, I am Captain Jacob Miller of the United Earth warship Defiant. I'm here to propose new terms for our relationship. There are no new terms, Prathkon's voice was hard as stone. Your delegation already accepted our conditions. You broke that agreement. You started a war. Now you will face the consequences. We didn't start anything, Jacob said calmly. Your empire approached us demanding submission, demanding tribute, demanding that we accept you as our superiors. Those aren't terms for a relationship. They're terms for slavery. Call it what you wish. That is how the galaxy works. The strong rule, the weak obey. It has been this way for thousands of years. Then maybe it's time for things to change, Jacob said. We don't want war with the Kalrathi Empire. We came to the stars looking for friends, for partners, for equals. But we will not be slaves. We will not bow down, and we will not surrender ever, Prathkon leaned forward. You face 5,000 ships with one vessel. You speak of not surrendering, but you have no choice. You cannot win. Accept your fate with dignity at least. You're right that we can't win by fighting, Jacob admitted. If this turns into a straight battle, eventually you'll get lucky or find a weakness. So I'm not going to fight you. I'm going to do something else. He nodded to Sarah. Deploy the hammer. The Defiant's hull split open along hidden seams. From the interior of the ship, thousands of objects launched into space. They were spherical, each about 3 meters across, made of dark metal that absorbed light. They spread out in a precisely calculated pattern, moving with purpose. In the Kalrathi command center, alarms began sounding. Tactical officers shouted warnings. The sensors were detecting thousands of new contacts, all moving to surround the fleet. What are those? Prathkon demanded. Those are targeting solutions for every ship in your fleet, Jacob explained. His voice remained calm. Each of those devices is locked onto a specific vessel. They're autonomous weapons platforms. We call them the Hammer. Each one carries enough antimatter to crack a moon. If I give the command, they will all detonate at the same time. Your entire fleet will cease to exist in approximately 3 seconds. The Kalrathi bridge fell silent. On the tactical displays, the truth was clear and terrible. The humans had just placed weapons next to every ship in the fleet, weapons that could destroy them all instantly. You're bluffing, Prathkon said, but his voice lacked certainty. You would destroy yourself as well. Yes, Jacob agreed simply. The Defiant would be destroyed. I would die. My crew would die, but humanity would survive. Your empire would be crippled. Every ship you have in this system would be gone. Your homeworld would be undefended, and every other species in the galaxy would learn a very important lesson. What lesson? Prathkon asked quietly. That you can't threaten humanity, that we will never be conquered, that we would rather die fighting than live as slaves, and that if you push us too far, we will take you with us into the dark. Jacob leaned forward in his command chair. So here's what's going to happen, Supreme Commander. You're going to stand down your fleet. You're going to recall the hammer by backing off. And then you and I are going to have a real conversation about how our two species can coexist without one trying to dominate the other. And if I refuse? Frathcon asked. Then we all die here together, Jacob said. Your choice. Peace or mutual destruction. But decide quickly. My crew has been at battle stations for 3 days. We're tired. Someone might make a mistake. And mistakes with antimatter weapons tend to be permanent. Frathcon turned to confer with his war council. The discussion was heated. Jacob could see officers arguing, gesturing at displays, pointing at the hammer devices surrounding their fleet. The Kalrathi were warriors, proud and fierce, but they weren't stupid. Dying for no reason served no purpose. The Supreme Commander turned back to face the screen. Something in his posture had changed. Not submission, but recognition. Acceptance of a new reality. What are your terms? Frathcon asked. Jacob pulled up a document. It was the same one Patricia Hayes had prepared months ago. The real terms humanity wanted. First, the Kalrathi Empire will recognize humanity's complete sovereignty over all systems we currently control. A buffer zone of 10 light-years around each colony world will be established. No Kalrathi ships will enter that zone without permission. Frathcon listened, his face unreadable. Second, all tribute requirements are void. Humanity owes the Kalrathi nothing. We are not your subjects, not your servants, not your clients. We are an independent species with full rights. Continue, Frathcon said. Third, you will share your star charts and navigation data for this region of space. We're new here. We don't want to accidentally violate anyone else's territory. Help us understand the neighborhood. Fourth, formal embassies will be established between our governments within 1 year. We'll exchange ambassadors, open trade negotiations, and begin building a real relationship based on mutual respect. Jacob paused before the final term. And fifth, you will send a message to every species in this region of the galaxy. Tell them that humanity has arrived. Tell them we seek peaceful coexistence with anyone willing to accept it. And tell them that we will respond to aggression with overwhelming force. Let them learn from your example rather than having to experience it themselves. You ask us to announce our defeat to the entire galaxy, Frathcon said. I ask you to announce the truth, Jacob corrected, that the galaxy is large enough for many powers. That cooperation is better than endless conquest. The hammer platforms slowly moved away from the Kalrathi fleet. One by one they returned to the Defiant, disappearing back into the storage bays hidden in the ship's hull. The threat was gone, but the message remained. The Kalrathi had seen what would have happened if they had chosen to fight. They would remember. Jacob sat in his command chair, feeling the weight of the last few days finally settling on his shoulders. His crew looked exhausted. They had been running on adrenaline and determination. Now that the immediate danger was over, the fatigue showed on every face. Stand down from battle stations, Jacob ordered. All crew get some rest. You've earned it. We'll remain in this system for 24 hours to make sure the peace holds, then we head home. Lisa Barrett approached him. Sir, we actually did it. We changed everything. Maybe, Jacob said quietly. Or maybe we just delayed the inevitable. Time will tell. But for now, we bought humanity a chance. A chance to grow, to prepare, to become something more than we were. That's worth the risk we took. He stood and addressed the bridge crew one more time. I want to say something to all of you. What we did here today will be remembered for centuries. You all performed with courage and skill beyond anything I could have asked for. Whatever happens next, whatever the future brings, remember that you were here. You were the ones who stood up and said that humanity deserves respect, that we deserve freedom, that we deserve a place among the stars as equals. Thank you. The bridge crew stood and applauded. It started with Sarah Brooks, then spread to every person present. Jacob felt emotion rise in his throat but pushed it down. There would be time for feelings later. For now he had responsibilities. Kevin, open a channel to Earth, let them know we're coming home. 3 months passed. The Defiant returned to Earth orbit to a hero's welcome. Parades were held in every major city. Songs were written about the crew. Children wore costumes pretending to be Captain Miller and his officers. The ship that had left in secret returned in glory. But Jacob found the attention uncomfortable. He attended the ceremonies because duty required it, but he didn't enjoy them. He was a soldier, not a celebrity. He preferred the quiet of space to the noise of crowds. President Martin Cole called him to Geneva for a private meeting. They sat in the president's office, looking out over the city below. I have 50 different proposals for your future, Martin said. Admiral in charge of the fleet. Director of Military Research. Ambassador to the Kalrathi. Name your position and it's yours. I appreciate that, Mr. President, Jacob replied. But I have to decline. The Defiant is my ship, my crew is my family, and there's still a whole galaxy out there to explore. I'd like to keep doing what I do best. Martin smiled. I figured you'd say that. So I have orders for you. The Defiant is to proceed to the unexplored regions beyond Kalrathi space. Make contact with new species. Map new systems. Show the galaxy that humanity is here to stay. That sounds perfect, sir. Just do me one favor, Martin said. Try not to start any more wars. My heart can't take it, Jacob laughed. I'll do my best. Meanwhile, at Meridian Point Station, Patricia Hayes stood once again in a diplomatic meeting room. But this time, everything was different. The room was larger, filled with representatives from 8 different species. The Kalrathi Empire had sent Supreme Commander Wrath Khan himself. Ambassador Hayes, Wrath Khan began. His translator rendered his words into human language. The Kalrathi Empire wishes to formalize the agreements made with Captain Miller. We also wish to discuss trade opportunities, cultural exchange programs, and joint security arrangements in the border regions. Patricia smiled, the same warm smile she had shown months ago when she had seemed so eager to please, but now it came from a position of strength rather than weakness. We're very pleased to hear that, Supreme Commander. Humanity has much to offer the galaxy and much to learn from our neighbors. We look forward to building positive relationships with all species willing to meet us as equals. She looked around the room at the other representatives. Some were from species humanity had never encountered before. They had all heard about the battle at the Kalrathi homeworld. They had all received the message the Empire had sent across the galaxy. A representative from the Trell Confederation, a species of blue-skinned humanoids, spoke up. Ambassador, my government is curious about human technology. Would Earth be willing to discuss technology exchange agreements? Possibly, Patricia replied carefully. Though we'll want to ensure any exchanges are fair and mutually beneficial. We're happy to share knowledge, but we also need to protect our interests. Another representative, this one from the Vorin Alliance, a species that looked like walking plants, asked a question. How many ships like the Defiant does humanity possess? Patricia smiled mysteriously. I'm afraid that information is classified for security reasons. I'm sure you understand. In truth, the Defiant was the only ship of its kind. Building another would take years and enormous resources. But the galaxy didn't need to know that. Let them wonder. Let them assume humanity had more weapons, more ships, more surprises waiting. The negotiations continued for hours. By the end, humanity had signed preliminary agreements with 4 different species. Trade routes were established. Cultural exchange programs were planned. The foundation of humanity's place in the galactic community was being built, one conversation at a time. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. The excitement over the Defiant faded as people went back to their daily routines. But something fundamental had changed. Humanity looked at the stars differently now. They weren't distant lights anymore. They were destinations, places where humans could go, could live, could build a future. Jacob Miller walked through a park in New York City. He wore civilian clothes, trying to blend in. It mostly worked. Most people didn't recognize him without his uniform. He enjoyed the anonymity. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, ran up to him. She had dark hair and bright eyes full of excitement. Excuse me, sir. Are you Captain Miller? Jacob smiled and knelt down to her level. I am. What's your name? I'm Sophie. I saw you on the news. You fought all those alien ships. I did. But I had a lot of help from my crew. They're the real heroes. Sophie thought about that for a moment. When I grow up, I want to go to space too. I want to see other planets and meet aliens and go on adventures. Then study hard, Jacob told her. Learn everything you can. Be curious about the universe. Ask questions. And always remember that the greatest adventures aren't the battles. They're the discoveries. The new friends you make. The wonders you see. Can you do that? Sophie nodded seriously. I can. I promise. Good. Then maybe someday I'll see you out there among the stars. The girl ran back to her parents, practically bouncing with excitement. Jacob stood watching her go. That was the real victory, he thought. Not the ships destroyed or the treaties signed, but the fact that children could now dream of futures among the stars without fear. The Defiant was scheduled to launch in 1 week. The crew was reassembling, supplies were being loaded, and repairs were being finalized. They would head out into unknown space to regions no human had ever visited. There would be dangers. There would be challenges. But there would also be wonders beyond imagination. Lisa Barrett found Jacob on the observation deck of the space station where the Defiant was docked. She stood beside him looking at the ship through the viewport. "Ready for another adventure, Captain?" she asked. "Always," Jacob replied. "What do you think is out there? Beyond Kalrathi space in the unexplored regions? New species, new worlds, new opportunities. Maybe some new threats too. The galaxy is a big place." "That it is," Jacob agreed. "But that's what makes it worth exploring. Every star could have planets. Every planet could have life. Every new species could teach us something about the universe or about ourselves." "You sound like a philosopher, sir," Jacob laughed. "Maybe space does that to you. Makes you think about the big questions. Why we're here. What we're meant to do. How we fit into the larger universe." They stood in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Finally, Lisa spoke again. "Sir, do you think we did the right thing? Coming out here so aggressively, we could have tried to negotiate without fighting." "We tried that first," Jacob reminded her. "The Kalrathi didn't want to negotiate with equals. They wanted subjects. Sometimes you have to prove yourself before others will respect you. We proved ourselves. And now? Now we show them who we really are. Not just warriors, but explorers, scientists, builders, artists, teachers. We show the galaxy that humanity is more than weapons and warships, that we have something valuable to contribute." The launch day arrived. The Defiant's crew assembled on the bridge, ready for departure. Jacob took his command chair, looking around at the familiar faces. Sarah Brooks at weapons, Kevin Harris at navigation, Lisa Barrett at his side. They had been through so much together. "All stations report ready," Lisa announced. "Then let's go," Jacob said. "Navigation, take us out. Set course for the outer rim. Best possible speed. Let's see what's out there waiting for us." The Defiant's engines powered up. The massive ship pulled away from the station, moving past Earth's orbital platforms. As they passed the moon, Jacob looked back at the blue-green planet that was home. It looked so small from this distance, so fragile.